we just wanted to go over two of the most common questions that we get as being peer tutors on the LVC campus.
The first and biggest one is, how do I manage everything? Whether that's sports or extracurricular activities. And my usual method, I mean, I'm not in any sports, but I have a lot of jobs on campus. So I like to schedule everything out as much as I can. So for instance, every month I'll write down everything that's on my syllabus, whether it's a reading assignment or tests. I'll even bold or circle them on my calendar. I like to use a whiteboard. Some people like to use planners.
Everything in the syllabi is all of the work that's required for that class. So I will take my syllabi and put it on my computer on my laptop. That way I always have it with me. And it's usually color-coded, as well as, dates of everything of when it's due. So for example, if I have an exam sort of a Thursday, that's a week from now, I will make sure that all my work previous to the week is done. That way I have a full week's worth of time to study for that exam, instead of just sort of looking at the syllabi every single night and doing it as a per night basis. You have to plan your week ahead and be able to do your work a week, if not a week and a half in advance for some classes.
And going off that, my usual rule of thumb is to be at least 1 or 2 days in advance of when something's due. So if I have a reading and homework assignment due on a Wednesday, I'll usually do it after that Monday's class. That way it gives me time to go over it and go to the professor or other classmates for help if I didn't understand it.
In regards to sports planning, which can be difficult at times, our practice schedules usually remain the same for the semester. They'll change from one semester to the other, but you have practices, you have lifts, you have mandatory meetings, you have all this additional stuff with your sports-specific regimen. One way that I know that my practice is always the same, so I know that the time that I have for practice isn't a time that I can schedule and manage my stuff. You will be up late almost every single night studying. You will be up early in the morning for either workouts at 6 a.m. or meetings at 6 a.m. But it's part of being an athlete at the school. You have to make sure your work gets done either late at night or early in the morning to be able to be successful in your classwork. So the next question we get is how can I be more efficient with my studying? This includes how to even start studying, what to study, more along the lines of you come in from your high school classes where you might not have to study and you get all A's across the board. Now you're coming to a school where it requires you to study. You have to put in that time and effort, and you don't know how to study. What I suggest for studying, especially if you don't really have a starting point of studying, is to pick a technique that you think is going to work. For example, if you use flashcards in high school, use flashcards, but you have to use that same technique consistently for all of your first exams. When you get those grades back, if they're right on par as what you're expecting, then keep using flashcards. If they're not on par, then you gotta transition into a different technique. A lot of people like using whiteboards to write out all their notes. What I would do, especially for a science-based major, is get a whiteboard in a room and just sit down and write all your notes.
In high school, you're usually pretty friendly with most of your teachers. And one thing I notice is, going to college, all right, they're professors, they have doctorates, they're more intimidating. Don't be afraid to go to them. They will help you with your studying if you don't understand something. And we also have tutoring available. They don't just help out with the subject. They'll, work with you to find something that works. I like to work a week out. So, the first 2-3 days of that week, it'll be just rereading the passages and the theorems and definitions until I know them in and out. And then I'll work on examples and problems the next 2 or 3 days. And then the last 2 or 3 days leading up to the exam, it'll be, what didn't I know and what don't I know as well, and just being honest with what you know. If you don't think you're going to do well in a certain area, get a tutor to help you out, go see the professor, do more problems on it.
Usually your first semester, It's not about how well you do, it's about learning how to study. If you can learn how to study in your first semester here, then you're going to be successful for the rest of your time here. I prefer studying in groups because you can bounce ideas and questions and critical thinking skills off of each other as to understanding that subject. So on top of learning how to study sort of individually by yourself, you might want to learn how to study within groups, within review sessions. One of the many resources on campus is the Writing and Tutoring Center, which does offer one-on-one tutoring, as well as it offers study pods for usually the more challenging classes. So we're both study pod leaders for our specific subjects. So I usually cover bio, I cover chem, I cover biochem. And these classes, you'll hear about them, you'll hear how hard they are, how difficult they are. One of the things that you need to with your scheduling, you need to get into that schedule is the study pod times. Showing up the night before the exam to the study pod, because there usually are test prep study pods that are for 2 hours, with all these questions that are sort of unknowns, will not help you on the exam. If you go weekly or bi-weekly to these study pods, it's usually very beneficial for you to get the help that you need right when the information is presented to you.
That's all we have for you. Thank you for watching, and good luck here at LVC.
Mic drop.